Alright guys, we are back for another Dokkan battle video. So, I talked about this. I wanted to do a video, kind of just discussing, the damage, basically kind of like an update on where we are in terms of like Dokkan character kits and stuff like that. We could use, Diamond Goku as an example, I guess. And how important it is to have a good, like, a spread of damage versus a good amount of defense and stuff like that, right? So, so a couple of days ago, it was mostly when Physical Super Saiyan 3 Goku came out, and people were kind of, like, very loudly talking about, like, Super Easy Attack Beerus the other day, right? And on that day, I actually was looking there was one particular tweet I wanted to lead this video off with, but I couldn't find it. I should have bookmarked it. That was silly. I do that all the time. I really should. Actually, wait, did I? Hold on. No, I didn't. But just a discussion of like, again, damage. So this has been like a, kind of like a long time thing. I remember it was huge on like the Reddit and stuff like that, right? Where, Mobile Man would do like, the hardest hitting units list update and stuff like that. Way back in the day, like I was like totally on board with it, right? Back in the Dokkan event era meta and stuff like that. But I remember one thing that did kind of make me go, was maybe, I mean, this is just a me thing, but as Super Battle Road kind of like continued on, and like I would go for the no item runs and stuff like that, and like, remember those earlier Super Battle Road days were very difficult. Nowadays, I mean, these Super Battle Road stages go down in one try because our characters are designed for like an even tougher slate of content, Red Zone, Supreme Magnificent Battle, stuff like that. And I remember there was a huge thing. I don't remember, like, know what character release it was. It might have been, it was before Tech LR Bully. I want to say it was sometime in 2018. And I saw a discussion of LR STR Broly and AGL Turles on rotation together. And it's just like, well, wait, but that doesn't, they just they just get killed instantly. And I feel like that's the genesis. I mean, it's now been 7 years since what I'm talking about, but I'm pretty certain that's the genesis of kind of at least my defense over offense mindset. Like, that's where it began. Because, again, you go way back, and I'm, like, dropping, like, oh, like, this character does the most damage, they're the best. Like, right? Like, way, way back in the day. But things have changed. And then, obviously, eventually we get, Red Zone and Supreme Magnificent Battle. And it is just a very simple concept, which is that, like, a lot of people say kill the boss before the boss kills you. But you can't actually do that. Because 9 times out of 10, the boss attacks first. You can't even attack the boss until the boss attacks. Now, there are specifically characters who don't follow that pattern. This guy. That's why I think this unit, is such a difficult unit to rank. Because turn 1, they're not really that crazy. But then you go into this character can kill the boss before the boss can even attack you. Like, they're so nuts. So it's like, for something like this with like an active skill attack, standby attack or something like that, I think the discussion, could apply to him for sure. Right. So there's that. But the whole, like, how much does offensive ability versus defensive ability matter? I would still say nothing is more important than having characters who could deal with boss super attacks. You must have that. A lot of these new characters can do very decent amounts of damage. If we just look at this screen, right? How many characters can do very competitive damage? And to signify very competitive damage, I'm going to just set the bar at Goku and Frieza's damage cap. 10 million like raw damage to them. How many characters here can do that? And it's like, Goku can easily do it by the time you get there, right? He starts out weak, but his damage becomes pretty good once it gets later. Kid Buu and Super Saiyan 3 Goku could easily do it. Glorio's doing it easily. This guy's doing it easily, but he does need to crit, right? Which, again, we're going to talk about crits in a second here. Does need to crit. Gotenks is blowing it away. Jiren is blowing it away. These guys are blowing it away. Gohan, he can, but it's very specific, right? Buhan, that deep in the fight, will be able to get there. My point is that there are waves of characters who could do competitive damage. That's what's lost in this. You know, just building a team only looking at damage, I still think is not really the way to go when so many characters can do competitive damage. But like being able to eat a 5.6 million super attack, which is what they do, because this is just straight up doubled, right? Well, I guess it's a 5.7 million super. But they're able to do that. Like a character that's able to do that in slot 1 because they super before you even attack, that is more valuable than just, you know, the 50th unit on the damage printing press that we get every single update. Every single Dokkan Fest could do damage, right? Like these types of characters, and then it even factors in more. We're on the cusp of new content coming. 9th anniversary is the best celebration in Dokkan history, easily by far. There's not even a number 2, really. And one of the main reasons is because of the huge amount of differing content, right? We had just so many different challenging fights, good fights. Like, it was just an incredible celebration, right? I'm gonna assume, unless Dokkan proves me wrong for the negative, that we're probably gonna go into something similar to that in the 10th anniversary. I feel like it's a real Debbie Downer, like, you know, thought process to think that Dokkan is going to go down from the 9th anniversary. They could. I mean, there's a good chance. I would probably be satisfied even if we're like, yeah, the 9th anniversary is a bit better, but the 10th anniversary is like the number 2 celebration. Like, to me, I feel like that'll be acceptable. I know a lot of people are putting the 10th anniversary on like a huge pedestal. Like, it's got to be the greatest forever. Like, I'm not really going that far. Just like, if it's in striking distance of the 9th anniversary celebration, I do think it'll be a success, right? So, okay. Now, one of the main focuses of this video is I kind of like set the groundwork of, you know, at my thoughts on like defense versus offense. But what Dokkan has done a lot, and this is a lot. So this guy came out, this is September of 2023, right? And in phase 1, he has this. So if you did not do over 1.5 million damage to this Zamasu, it was just changed to 0 damage. And this was the hardest fight in the game at the time because he dropped an AoE attack, which was very difficult for most of the cast of the game to deal with. At that point, many of the strong Dokkan Fests and LRs and stuff like that in 2023 were very susceptible to Zamasu's AoE. It was devastating for a lot of the money characters, the give us, you know, money and then you could, you know, pull these characters, stuff like that. They were susceptible to Fusion Zamasu. But he had this damage threshold. Then, turn around, February of 2024, and we get this guy, this Beast Gohan fight, who has several different mechanics. He can only super attack in slot 1. That is true. He can only super attack in slot 1. He stuns you when he supers you. He has his 3 million damage check, and he locks. So he's got a lot of different things that are nasty. Now, this guy was definitely very tough back when the 9th anniversary dropped, but, you know, throughout the year, we got so many good characters. So many good characters. That this fight is now kind of like a joke, right? Like, I included it in the Kid Buu Master video, and we just decimated, like, full artificial life form, we just decimated that fight. Not even tough, right? Kid Buu owns this Gohan. There's nothing this Gohan could do to that Kid Buu. So, all right, there's that. Again, 3 million. Notice how just within the span of what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, the damage check doubled between 5 months. Okay? So this is February 2024. Now we get to July of 2024. Right? So this is another, 5 months later. And now the damage check has more than tripled to 10 million from 3 million. So they've done this repeatedly. 2023 Worldwide Download Celebration. Damage threshold on the toughest boss. 2024 Anniversary. Damage threshold. I think this Gohan was intended to be the hardest boss, but I feel like we used Gogeta much more as a baseline a lot. But the Gohan was clearly intended. I mean, he's the final fight of this Supreme Magnificent Battle, right? This is the Dragon Ball Super What is it called? It's just the Dragon Ball Super Edition. Yeah. Beast is the final fight right there. He's intended, even though a lot of us thought that the Blue Gogeta fight was just a little bit more difficult. Because I mean Gogeta's damage and his AOE towards the end, right? And then after that, we move to the end of the Tanabata celebration, and we have another damage check, which is shot up to the moon. Again, now, a very powerful character. So, like, Angel Vegeta's type disadvantage, right? This is an STR boss. I mean, I've seen him drop, I don't know how high it's been, 40 million attack stat that does 0 damage to Goku and Frieza, right? Because he really needs to crit because he's a physical type character. Whereas, like, an AGL character, I think I've seen Angel Super Saiyan 3 Goku do damage to Goku and Frieza. I want to say with a 13 million attack stat, I've seen him do damage to Goku and Frieza, I believe it was with a 13 million attack stat he did. So, clearly, this is something I think Dokkan is not going to shy away from either. I think they probably are going to keep implementing it. I would imagine 10th anniversary would have a fight that's got this. They'd have locking, AoEs, a lot of, like, all these mechanics spread out on a lot of the different fights, to test characters out and then to incentivize players to want to summon for the 10th anniversary, summonable LRs. I don't think this is going away. So what does this mean for, like, the defense versus offensive stuff? Because, like, right now, it doesn't, like, every character can get past this damage threshold that's been coming out. Not really an issue. But what happens during 10th anniversary when this is 20 million that you have to do damage, or you do 0? And then all of a sudden, the amount of characters that could do it is, cut by 90% or something like that, I'm sure. I mean, we would see, but something like that, right? So, like, then, I mean, offense is definitely going to matter more to an extent. For sure, with this mechanic being a thing, I do think offense is more important than it was. 100%, right? Like, it's if you guys notice with a lot of characters, unless they have built-in crits, which we do have quite a bit, right? Like Kid Buu and Physical Super Saiyan 3 Goku, they both have got their built-in crits. So, like, that is enough to suffice. But who's a character that I prioritize crit for? Maybe like this Angel Vegeta, actually. Yeah. This is a good example. Him. He could do these mega 50 million attack sets and stuff like that, but you do need the added bite of that crit to really make it sting for some of these bosses. So that's why I do think offense is a little bit more important than it has been, because I don't think that they're just going to forget this exists, right? They're like, everyone hated AoEs in 2023. Well, they're not just going to forget AoEs exist. They're not just going to forget locking exists. They're going to keep using these mechanics and keep bringing them back and back and back. So I do think that even in the 10th anniversary, like, defense is we'll see what happens, but I'm sure defense is going to be the most important thing still. But offense will definitely be more important as they keep implementing these bosses. And specifically, to get into it, here's the real thing. Crits become just way more important than additional in the hidden potential system. Because no matter what, it's a 50-50 coin flip. Flip a coin in the air right now for that hidden potential system additional. Is it a super or a normal? If it's a normal, it's doing 0. Pointless. You wasted all of your points on the character. Gave you no value whatsoever. You put it in a crit. I mean, it depends on the character, right? Like, I'm not advocating giving this guy crit in the potential system. That's foolishness, right? But, for a character that doesn't have anything, you definitely want to go down that crit path instead, to be able to push you above one of these type of, like, damage checks, damage thresholds. So we'll see what's going to happen, but I fully expect this to return in the next batch of very difficult fights, but not just return, but again, be pushed up. Because I think, I try and see how they're operating with some stuff. And I think that domains and standbys, I had Family Kamehameha. Here, this Jiren right here. And then this, with these standbys, this is an easy way for them to power creep characters. Because when we get a better charging standby or something like that, then all of a sudden, like, we're prioritizing the better character, and then we can't transform with Jiren, and then he just kind of, like, falls off. That's kind of like the artificial power creep, where they could kind of, like, push characters out just via, like, a mechanic that you can't have both activated at the same time. And this, of course, applies to domains as well, right? Like, domains where like a lot of characters have a huge amount of abilities, very important, tied to their domains. But like if an even better character is out with a domain, I mean, they're going to take precedence, and then the other characters with domains, are become less of a factor, less of a priority to run, right? And we're just going to keep seeing them put this in, I think, as kind of a similar extension to the domain mechanic, the standby mechanic, and then now the damage threshold mechanic, which is to just kind of artificially power creep older characters. People, wouldn't like that, of course, but it is a gacha game. I mean, that's what they're going to do. They don't want you using, Tech Ultimate Gohan for 5 years. That's not what they want, right? They want you to use brand new summonable Namek Super Saiyan 10th Anniversary LR Goku to beat the fights. That's what they're looking for you to do, right? So let me know what you guys think. Will be interesting to see, right? But I would not be shocked if there's a 20 million damage check on, Supreme Magnificent Battle Super Vegito and 10th Anniversary. Something along those lines.